Certainly needed it, because a lot of the American Air Force at the time was a fairly antediluvian connection of aeroplanes. The American military hadn't spent much on defence through the 1930s because they thought after World War I they weren't going to get involved. So there was a certain amount of catching up to be done, lots to learn from the European Air War for the first couple of years. There's the B-25 running, 2 right cycling engines, about a 15-ton aircraft. Followed by the P51. Corsair B-25. Running in from your right, the Red Bull Air Force.
Roger. Smoke on there.
Chance to go and see the aircraft when they're parked down at the south end of the airfield. They are simply immaculate. They gleam like jewels, and believe me, it's not just skin deep. I've had a look inside the B-25 in the hangar, and inside the undercarriage bays and behind the engines, it's just as clean. It looks like they've just come out of a restoration hangar, and that's a tribute to this team that look after these aeroplanes, both mechanics and just helpers who keep these aircraft in such stunning condition. Bring round as our diamond formation. I think at this point the B-25 is going to pull up and do its solo display, and the other aircraft will then climb to height for what is a very spectacular aerobatic display to come. So the World War II fit the aircraft. If the airplane looks slightly familiar to you, you're at a certain age, my age, somewhat near the end of the beginning, featured in the film Catch-22, famous novel by Joseph Heller. So for the Red Bull Air Force, this is actually a very practical aeroplane. Bomb door, and instead of bombs coming out, they've got an enormous great maintenance unit which is full of oil, smoke, tools, lots of Red Bull products incidentally. Other drinks are available. but full of all that kit, because obviously the P38 and the P51 can't carry it. Keeping an eye on the instruments, setting power settings that Frederick wants to fly so he can just simply concentrate on flying the aeroplane. So this will be the last pass of the B-25. Beautiful aeroplane, the sun glinting on that fantastic, highly polished skin. Over to the window. Fabulous display, Frederick. Wonderful. So when you get off the hold, if you turn your attention to the right, gentlemen and ladies. One has been flown with this completely unique twin tail boom design. It was designed as a long-range escort fighter, as well as those two big engines had big fuel tanks and go a long way. It was introduced into the European theatre in 1943, but they had great difficulty getting the engines to work at the high altitudes. They hadn't predicted just how cold it was going to be in the European winter, and they had all sorts of problems getting the turbo superchargers to work. They had problems with the oil congealing, but at least they had two engines. Most of the missions they came back with one of them working. It was much more successful in the Pacific, where it was a somewhat more temperate climate, and obviously those two engines in long range made it a fantastic fighter for those very long distances the missions were flown in the Pacific. Superchargers, coolers, or the intercoolers that allowed the engine to produce a huge amount of power at high altitude.
Difficult it is looping the similar types of formation, but performing a barrel roll at the similar times actually arguably hard about.
Oh, much harder because of the radius of turn, the aircraft on the outside of Norway. Eskil was a test pilot in the Norwegian Air Force, now in flying civil flying for Atlas Cargo over in America, flying 747s. Originally a demonstration pilot for the Norwegian Air Force flying F-16.
visually, but that is the Flying Bulls breaking to land. Now, I've been going to airshows for a very long time. I think here at Sywell, 22 Boys, the first time I've seen the 4 ship of the Flying Bulls flying. So